Good morning. I hope you can hear me. So type 111 when you can. When you can hear me. And don't forget to mark questions as questions. You can do that by clicking on the down arrow next to the chat box that you write in, that you type in, and just mark it as a question. Okay, excellent. So, hello, nice to see you on a Monday. Well done. And hello, Rima. Hello, Reem. Nice to see you. And Benabid. Benabid. Strangely, April, you're not showing up, which is odd. And neither is Shiny. I'm not sure why. You're just invisible to me. And I don't know why that would be, but I can see you and you can hear me. So that's good. Okay, we're going to look at only the last words. Oh, I hope that's not a shape of things to come. But at the moment, I will presume you can hear me. So let's begin by briefly taking a look at the chat section. Okay, so we'll just quickly have a look at live chat, just because I like to see if anything's happened over the weekend. This is my chance. And one bit of news is Zom's back. And Reem, I'm wondering if it's the same Reem who's in the room. But Reem said, hello, I'm Reem. I want to improve my speaking skills. That's good. Great. Just also improve the capitalization. Hello, capital H, I, capital I always. You put one capital I in here, but this one needs to be capital as well. And don't forget to finish your sentences with a full stop. Okay. Alina asked if anyone wanted to chat. As usual, came in, said, does someone want to chat? And we said hello and never came back. Yaker said, hey, what's up? Let's chat. Ha 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 ha. I'm not sure why that was funny, but okay, whatever. And Aravind said, hi, I'm new here. And it's so nice to have Zom back because Aravind got a reply pretty quickly. San said, is there anybody to help me to play active role here as I want to improve my speaking? Yes. Again, came, asked a question, didn't reply. That's normal in live chat, by the way. Robert said hi, capital H. And Ilham or Iam Mamadova said, hello, I'm new here. I want to increase my speaking. Can anybody help me? So I presume that's hello, capital H. I want to increase my speaking. I would just say improve my speaking. Moen said hi. And Amelia is asking for partners to practice speaking. Again, if you're going to do that, make sure you reply, okay? And Movies HD said hello. Movies HD sounds a little bit like a spammer, doesn't he? So, if you've said hello on live chat, welcome. If not, yeah, get over there, say hello to other people. Let's get it going again, especially now Zom's back. But today we're going to look at election vocabulary. And you'd have to be, I don't know, you'd have to be comatose through the whole of 2016 not to have picked up some election vocabulary. Surely you must have picked up some election vocabulary. So when we're talking about elections, we talk about election campaigns, and there's a verb there, to campaign, okay? And the verb from election is to elect. So you can elect somebody, yeah? And you can be elected. So if you elect somebody, you choose who's going to be your leader. And if you are elected, you're it. You are the leader. Okay? Follow my leader. So the text we had in the actual vocabulary challenge, and if you want to take part, if you're new here or if you're watching this video and you're going, what vocabulary challenge, get into the English forum, okay, sign in or register. Okay. And I will show you exactly what I mean by starting to screen share. Okay, so I'll disappear for a second as I screen share. Passive. Excellent, Rima. Yeah, well done, Marco. To elect somebody, not to be elected, passive. But of course, Mr. Trump was elected. Oh, maybe I shouldn't mention that. Okay, so the vocabulary challenge you'll find under groups in the forum. You'll need a forum account. Ooh, getting a funny message. Okay, whatever. My scan for computers no longer working. I don't know why it has to tell me that. Join us for webinars. And you will find in there something called Vocabulary Challenge each week. You'll find some previous ones. So there's one from last week, which I'll close down now. And it's a little bit more complicated than that. You have to follow the instructions. Okay, you go to the Moodle page that we run. You click on English Vocabulary Challenge and enter the password, which changes each week. Then you take the challenge and you post your answers here. Okay, and if you find that on Tuesday by 11 o'clock in the morning there's nothing in here, send me a message like April did to say, "Oi Lynn, where's the vocabulary challenge?" It is a weekly thing. Even if I'm on holiday, it will run. Okay, and then you'll be taken to a picture or some text and you have to tell me what the vocabulary is, or what the sentences should be, or what the words should be in the challenge. Okay, and each person then replies, and at the end of the week, after the challenge is closed, it runs from Tuesday to Thursday, and then I give you the answers. Okay, so we'll start with number one, which is, I know you think date, but it's not, it's candidate. Okay. So although we say date, it's pronounced candidate. Okay, and the candidate is the person standing for election. Okay, now around election time, and 2016 in America was crazy in this respect, there are lots of reporters, the media. Okay, so reporters shoving their microphones in people's faces. The media were all over the election in the US. We had our own little elections in the UK as well, slightly different. Not an election, a referendum. You might have heard of Brexit. Not a good year for me, to be honest. And you have the media, reporters and cameramen. Okay, or, because let's face it, women operate cameras too, camera operators. Okay, then we have the usual people around election time who don't like a candidate or who don't like a political party. And we actually do say political party, but it's not as exciting as it sounds. It's just the Democrats, the Republicans, in the UK, the Conservatives, the Liberal Democrats, Labour, they're all political parties. And there's not much partying going on, to be honest. So it's a bit of a misuse of the word party, let's face it. But we'll get protesters or demonstrators, and there'll be a demonstration or a protest. Okay? And the protesters would carry protest signs saying no to global warming, or no to whoever is trying to be elected. Okay, when you have decided who you want to vote for, we have election day and everybody goes to the polling station. Okay, now I say poll, some people say polling. I don't think it matters. Polling station, polling station. And the place, okay, generally, if it's a general election in the UK, then you're voting for the political party to lead you. But it might be a local election, in which case you're voting for the constituency. Okay, so if you're voting for a particular constituency, in the US it would be like a state, in the UK it would be a council district area, that kind of thing. And in America, they call it a voting district. That's North American English. If you see that NAME, it just stands for North American English. Okay, you get your ballot paper or your poll card or your voter card in America, and you mark it for whoever you want to vote for. Could be a party or it could be a particular council candidate. Sometimes we have mayoral elections to vote for a mayor. The most famous are the London mayor elections. So you might vote for a mayor or a council or a political party. Okay, at the polling station you have election officials. They stand there and they make sure you have your voting papers, your ballot paper. And to get a ballot paper, you have to register to vote. You have to be on the electoral register. Okay. If you're not on the electoral register, you do not get a ballot paper. You cannot vote. And it's called a voter registration list, I am told, in American English. And once you've signed or once you've ticked or crossed your ballot paper, it goes into the ballot box, which is locked. All the ballot boxes are taken to a counting station. The votes are counted and the winner is announced. And maybe the votes are recounted because nobody can believe the result. But eventually on the news by the reporters, the winner is announced. Okay. Now, if you have voted, you are a voter and you have to be an eligible voter. There has been in the news some discussion about voter fraud. Yeah? Voter fraud, where people pretend to be voters or they vote twice, or there's lots of ways. And that's why we need the election officials. They're meant to stop voter fraud. Okay. So you have to have registered to vote. You can cast a vote. You can use a postal vote. You can actually vote by post. Again, you send your ballot paper in to the address that's given. It has to be there a little bit before the actual election, and then your postal votes are also counted. So if you're abroad, if you're in hospital, you can still vote. You can also set a proxy vote, and that means you give somebody else the right to vote for you. Okay. Yes, Boris Johnson was London Mayor. He's no longer London Mayor. I think that's Sadiq Khan now. He wanted to be the boss as well. He wants to be the leader of the Conservative Party, but he's not that either. I think he's strangely one of our major diplomats. But there you go. No accounting for taste. Okay, so let's not go there. I'm not going to get dragged into politics, Marco. Okay, and of course you vote for somebody. As a voter, you vote for somebody. As a candidate, somebody votes for you. Okay, and during the campaign, and it's often called an election campaign. There's a lot of pain in the election campaign. Then you have campaign flyers or the manifesto. Now, that word, the manifesto, didn't actually really get used by anybody. So I'm wondering if you know what a manifesto is. And it's just a published declaration of the intentions of the group, political party or government. All governments in democracies have a manifesto. It's the promises they make. Yeah, we're going to reduce taxes. We're going to reduce the national debt. We're going to make everybody rich. We're going to create 10 million jobs just for our own citizens and bugger everybody else. That's the manifesto, okay? And then during the campaign, in the UK especially, we have these things called party political broadcasts. And they've started already. I was watching something and I didn't know what I was watching. And it was like Groundhog Day. It'll probably be on the internet. If I find it on YouTube, I will give you the link. But it was the party political broadcast for the Liberal Democrats. Honestly, it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. They tend to be very weird. They're like adverts. that set out the manifesto, that make the promises, that say vote for me. And if you see one political party broadcast on the news or on television, you know that you're going to get 2 or 3 more, because the broadcasters have to give each political party that have a certain number of seats in Parliament, they have to give them equal time on the television. So I know, having seen the Liberal Democrat one, I'm going to at some point see the Labour one and the Conservative one, and who knows, maybe even UKIP. I don't know. Maybe. I hope not. Okay, so there's a lot of pain in political campaigns. Absolutely, Marco. Especially for the people who have to watch the party political broadcasts. Okay. They are truly bizarre. Now, in a political campaign, they try to influence you. Okay. And they're often referred to as electoral campaign, political campaign, and they're basically there to try to tell you how to vote. I don't know if anyone has ever changed their vote because of a political campaign, but certainly, and if you were in the sessions with me last year about Brexit, certainly the campaigns run by the Brexiters and the Remainers were quite powerful in making people make their mind up, okay, in helping people to make their mind up, okay. So if anybody would like to come and talk to me, please click on request to speak and we'll cross our fingers. Okay, Benedict, I've just seen your question. If you marked it as a question, I would be able to, okay, if you see now, it's got a question mark. I would have been able to see it more easily. NAME, I think somebody's already replied to you, but it's North American English. So North American English, okay? And BRE is British English. If you're not aware, there is a difference in some vocabulary, in meaning, and a little bit of grammar too, between America, North America, and Britain. Okay, so it's good to know both. It's good to know that it's a voter registration list in America and the electoral register in the UK. Especially if you ever go and live and work in those countries, you will also be given a vote in local elections, not in general elections, okay? So, voting district, polling station, ballot paper, voter card, okay? Sorry, ballot paper, ballot, poll card, voter card, okay? But all those words are things I, as a Brit, am aware of, and I know what they mean when I hear them. As a learner, it's a good idea to be exposed to both British and American English, okay? Canada is included in North American English. Not always, April. Canada kind of is a mishmash of North American English and British English and French. So Canada has its own rules, but the two main Englishes in the world are North American English and British English. So by understanding North American English and British English, you'll be okay in Canada, because they do mix it up a bit. Okay? Good question, though. I like it. Okay, so I'm waiting to see if any hands have been raised. Can't see any at the moment. So I'll just keep babbling on at you, I guess. You fools. But I was very, very impressed with your replies, by the way, because it wasn't an easy... the bag vocabulary challenge last week was very easy. It was very clear. This is that bag, that's that kind. But this was more of a picture of people doing stuff. It's always difficult to know what's it pointing at, what's it asking for. So you wrote journalist, April, reporter, journalist, fine. Okay. Shiny got both, journalist and reporter. News cameraman. Camera operator is, of course, the non-gender term. We've been talking about a lot about non-gender terms. It was even in the news recently. Okay. Then scrutineer, no. They are scrutinizing things, but I don't know of a word for a scrutineer. I've never heard of that term. Poll watcher, no. Returning officer, very good. But the returning officer is more to do with the actual count and the announcement of the count. So we have somebody called the returning officer, and they basically are the people who are responsible for general elections, okay? And they have the job of overseeing everything, really. They're in charge of the election in a constituency. They supervise the count more and announce the result more than they make sure that people who've gone in to vote have the right to vote. Okay. Hi, Aladdin. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. So yes, very good. He could have been the returning officer, but the returning officer would probably be inside the polling station, guarding the boxes, the ballot boxes, making sure nobody fiddles with the vote. Voter fraud. Okay, so I'm just trying to think. Booth is fine as well, but polling booth is better. Okay, just trying to think. Polling table, number 9. No, that was actually the register. That was on the table. Okay, but again, it's difficult, I know, sometimes to see what the number is pointing at. But I was very, very impressed with your answers, so well done. Okay, now let's kill live chat as well. If you go to, I'll give you the list, the link, I mean. If you go to the vocabulary page, you will find there's some of the items there, actually. If you were clever, you'd have gone there. This is British politics, though, okay? And the election vocabulary in Britain. So on the website, I tend to stick to British English so as not to confuse beginners. But in the vocabulary challenge, as it says in the rules, I'll accept British or American English. And both is better. So you've got the ballot paper, and quite often you'll see it like this. You'll have the party and the candidate. Party, candidate. And we have people called independents. Okay? And now an independent is somebody who wants you to vote for them, but not as a representative of a political party. And you can stand as an independent, but you do have to pay quite a lot of money to stand, and you can lose all that money. If you don't get enough votes, there's no refund, okay? So there is money involved in politics, legally. But if you wanted to be a candidate and you were a citizen of the UK, you can stand, and you're not a Labour or UKIP or Conservative or Liberal or any of the other nastier parties. You could stand as an independent, and sometimes independents win, usually because they're famous. We had one particular, I think Mr. Snow, he was a news reporter, and he's been a very successful independent candidate. But it's not an easy job to have. You don't have the backing of the political machinery behind you. April, you've raised your hand. Thank goodness. Thank you, April. I'm going to invite you in. What about my questions? What's the difference between reporter and journalist? Not much the same. Not much, yeah. To me, a reporter tends to be somebody who's out and about. And a journalist is somebody who works for a newspaper and might be sat at a desk. So reporters are journalists, but not all journalists are reporters. Okay. And a journalist has more of an opinion than a reporter. If you think about the word to report, they tell you what the news is, but a journalist will write opinion pieces on what they think the news means. Okay. So there's not a lot of difference. They both work in journalism, okay, and but all reporters are journalists, not all journalists are reporters. I think that's the best way I can describe it. A Venn diagram would show it quite nicely. Okay, so I'm just catching up with the questions. I'm not sure what the word was where you said American pronounces it the same. I'm not sure what you mean there. What word? So if you're going to ask about pronunciation, don't say it, say the word. Okay, write the word. I might not know which word you mean. Yeah, sorry I missed your questions there, but I think I've got them both now. You can tell me what word you mean when you come into the room as well. So let me know if you get in the room, April. And we'll wait for April a second. But whilst we're waiting for her, we'll look at the vocabulary. So we've got the different parties. Again, very bad use of the word party, but get over it. That's what they're called. And then we have the independents. Okay. And it can get very complicated. This is quite a simple ballot paper, but sometimes you get very large ballot papers and you have to find your candidate. And usually what we do is you mark an X. Okay. Now you'll also get inundated with leaflets and pamphlets and flyers from the different parties. They'll even come canvassing. To canvass is also a word, which means they'll go knocking from door to door, asking you to vote for them. It's the only time you ever see them. So if you are in England during election time, be ready. In the street, they'll stop you. They'll come knocking on your door. They might even phone you up if you're registered to vote. And they'll certainly be dropping leaflets and brochures and pamphlets through the door. We've already mentioned the party political broadcast. Now that could also be on the radio or the television. And I will definitely try to find the link to the Liberal one I saw recently. It is bizarre. And of course you have the politicians. Now note, it's politics, but politician. Okay, politics, politician. April, are you in the room?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. What word were you thinking of when you asked about do Americans pronounce it the same?
Okay, because I didn't hear while you talk about my question. I was trying to enter the room. The candidate. That word.
So do you mean, is it candidate?
Yeah.
I'd have to check that. I mean, I certainly would never say candidate, but I think, yeah, you're right. Probably an American would. Yeah, Americans do it, but in English we use the at the end. Okay, so where we have different words, I mentioned earlier, American and English, there is a difference in British pronunciation and American pronunciation as well. Thank goodness for the internet. So North American English would be candidate, British English candidate. Okay. And probably in parts of America, because I've heard Americans say candidate as well. Normally a little bit more than can, but I've heard them use the at the end as well. But yes, you're right. Americans might say candidate. Oh, thank you, Marco, for letting April know you can hear her. Well done. It's nice when you do that, just to say we can hear you. April, you missed the other question. The difference between reporter and journalist? Not a lot. But all reporters are journalists. Not all journalists are reporters. And a reporter generally reports the news, and a journalist writes more about the news, has an opinion, has commentary. And so, I mean, in some ways, with the internet nowadays, we're all reporters, okay? And there are many amateur reporters out there. But to be a journalist, you do have to have the qualification. So you can call yourself a reporter, but you can't call yourself a journalist. You have to have the right qualifications and you have to join the right body, okay?
Okay. And another thing, Lynn, another
Mhm.
question. I have always tempted to say board instead of sign. What is sign? Sign. What is the difference
Oh,
then? Yeah.
okay. Well, you can have advertising boards, but a board might be blank. It's just a piece of wood. Okay. Um, so once it's just a piece of wood. You can have floorboards, for example, thin, flat pieces of wood that go on the flooring. Okay. So I wouldn't use board when there's a sign. A sign has a message. Okay. So you could say a signboard, actually. You can have a signboard, but the sign has a message that gives some information. Okay. So a protest sign has the information about the protest. Okay. Now you can have a signboard, and that's usually a larger sign that has some kind of advertising board as well. So signboard would be the same as like a sign, but board itself would indicate just a piece of wood. Okay.
Okay. And then about number 8, election official. That is just person who is watching there whilst the poll is going. But sometimes from the United Nations, they send somebody or a couple of a couple of people to an election in another country, in some country when there is election. Do we call them also election official, or are they just the observer?
I'd be tempted to use the word observer or monitor, actually, because they're there to monitor the electoral process to make sure it's fair and proper and to report on it if it isn't. I don't think they have any legal standing, whereas an election official could say to you, no, you're not registered, that's not your name, or they could ask you for proof of identity to prove that you are, or they could say, no, you've already voted. I think the monitors can only watch and report. Okay. Good question, though. I hadn't even thought about that. Generally, we're allowed to have our elections without any monitoring in the UK. But yes, in some countries, the UN sends these electoral monitors or electoral, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
observers.
And I just missed. I just heard the last word that when I entered this room, I heard you saying canvassing. But what is that, Lynn?
It's a canvas. Remember when we were talking about cold callers? And we talked about politicians sometimes that's called, they don't call them cold callers, they call them canvassers. Okay. They come and they knock on your door. They ask you who you're going to vote for, and sometimes they try to convince you to vote for them, either through giving you leaflets or just talking to you, asking if you've got any particular problems that they can help you with. And that's called canvassing, to canvass the area. Okay.
And what is lobbying?
Lobbying is more to do with, you go to the government and you say to them, we don't want you to change the rules on sugar. We don't want tax on sugar. So industry lobbies the government. Okay.
Okay.
And you have lobbyists, again, don't ask me too much about them because it's something I find quite abhorrent. But you have industry that lobbies. So the car industry will have lobbyists at Parliament. The tobacco industry, they're very strong lobbyists. They want, they don't want particular rules, or the packaging recently, that the packaging should be plain or carry these horrible photographs of people who are dying from cancer. They lobbied to stop that, but they didn't win, thank goodness. And currently we've got the sugar industry lobbying to stop the sugar tax that is being introduced in 2018, I think. Sugary drinks are going to become more expensive in the UK. The plastics industry didn't want the plastic bag charges to go into shops. Oh, it's lobbyists. Yeah, they're more about going to the current government to get what they want. Okay. A canvasser, exactly, Marco. A canvasser canvassers. And sometimes people volunteer to be canvassers. It's it's a bizarre thing, but yeah, with double S. Okay. So let me just change that for you. A canvasser. Any other questions, April, or anybody else? Don't forget to mark it as a question so I can spot it. Okay. And did you hear my reply on Canada versus North American English, Canadian English and North American English, April?
Yes. So actually, North American is America, USA.
Yeah, North America, USA. I mean, Canada, as I say, they've got a lot of American English, of course, they're neighbours, and they have the same thing that we do in Britain: the television, the films, the culture has moved across the border. Culture doesn't know borders, really, doesn't recognise them. But they also have these quirky British expressions that Americans find really quaint. And pronunciation can be a bit of a and French creeps into the English in Canada as well. So a friend of mine who's lives in Canada, and I met her in Germany, but she's actually from Libya. Can you imagine what kind of luckily she's a polyglot, so she's capable of speaking several different languages. she got by, but she found it quite a shock at first. Okay, so let's carry on. Now, when you get your poll card, it comes through the post, and as I say, you are told where to vote and when to vote. Okay, and doesn't tell you, it's not allowed to tell you who to vote for. Okay. We also get lots of posters, and I think those of you who've been members of the Learn English Network for long enough will remember the famous David Cameron posters with the kitten. But they're everywhere, and they can get quite horrible. If you look on Google for Tony Blair posters from the Conservative Party, they had him with these glowing red eyes. It was really, they can get very, very personal. And then you get your vote, and when you vote, you go into the voting booth so that you can do it privately. Okay, voting in the UK, and it's anonymous. You don't have to put, once you've got your voting card, it doesn't have your name on it. It's completely anonymous. Okay. And currently you have to go and vote unless you use your postal vote. There's no online voting at the moment. They have little surveys, if you like, but they're not binding votes. And then, of course, we have the referendum. And the referendum, it's not like a normal vote. It's normally 2 questions, yes, no. Now, stay, go, yes, no, true, false. But it was run in exactly the same way as a normal election, a local election or a general election. But there were only, on the voting paper, there were 2 basic questions. Would you like to remain in the European Union? Would you like to leave the European Union? And was it last year or the year before last, I think, Scotland got to vote on whether they wanted to stay as part of the UK or leave the UK. So a referendum is slightly different to an election. Any questions? Yeah, exactly. I know, I have that in my head still when I think about Brexit. Should I stay or should I go now? Oh, I'm not allowed to sing, otherwise YouTube will block the video. Okay, so we've got three main political parties in the UK. In the US, there's two main political parties: the Democrats and the Republicans. In the UK, there are three. There's Labour, and they have these little logos. Generally, they have a colour too. So Labour is generally red. If you watch party political broadcasts, they're sometimes worth watching because they can be quite good for your English. You'll see that a lot of Labour members wear a red tie. The Liberal Democrats, they have this bird as their logo, and their colour is this gold yellow colour. A lot of yellow ties on their side. And the Conservatives, now they've got this green tree, but the Conservatives' colour is actually blue. So quite often you'll find them wearing a blue tie. And the elections and political parties are still very, how could I say, conservative in a way. And it was a big shock, if you notice in this picture, David Cameron wasn't wearing a tie in the poster. I think he was trying to appeal to the average person, the average Joe, if you like, and he didn't wear a tie. That hit the news. You have more. Well, we have more too, but they're the main political parties, the ones who have a chance in a general election. We, of course, have the notorious UKIP. And there are also things like the BNP, don't want to go there. We have the socialists as well. They never get anywhere in general elections. They sometimes win local elections on local matters, okay? Especially if they're canvassing on a particular problem within a community. And the independents as well, okay? But it's not a competition, April. It's not a competition. Okay, so let's just... if there are no questions, I'm trying to keep an eye on the questions too. And I've still only got April who raised her hand. You're very good. You all just want to listen to me, don't you? But yes, we got the political campaign, and it can be quite surprisingly intense, political campaigns. The referendum was very intense. Those of you who came to the sessions on the referendum will know just how nasty it got. And let's face it, one of the politicians, Joe Cox, was murdered, and they think as a direct result of the general negativity of the canvassing and the campaigning. So it can, even in the UK, this supposedly civilized society, no, it can get nasty. It really can. But lots of people carrying signs, lots of people saying, vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. Okay. Any questions about the political campaigns?
Actually, I have a question about the color. Yeah, I forgot almost what my question.
Okay.
Why is it similar in the whole world? The color for we don't have. We have socialist with that red flower sign and symbol. But the Labour Party here is not so big. So our Socialist Party or Party Socialist, Socialist Party.
Socialist Party
is the main party here, not the Labour. But they have the same flower and color. For Liberal, it is also a yellow, orange, but the symbol is the picture is different, and Christian is blue indeed, and green is for the green. So what makes them choose those colors? Actually, in the whole world, is it an obligation to use the same color? Just don't not to make it
Great question, but I really don't know. I know that red is always going to be on the left wing of the spectrum because of the famous song "We'll Keep the Red Flag Flying Here." I mean, the communists were the Reds, they will be the Reds, I think, forever. Why conservatives were blue, I don't know. I think Greens is obvious, although it was very cheeky of the Conservatives in the UK to suddenly decide to use a tree. They were trying to say, we have green credentials too. Of course, a load of frackers, so... and I think Liberals, I think they just got stuck with yellow because red and blue were taken. Red, blue and green are gone. Oh, what colour's left? Oh, we'll have gold. I think they prefer to call it gold than orange or yellow. But I don't know, April. I mean, you could probably write a whole dissertation on the choices of and the history of political colours.
Oh no, I'm wrong, I think, because for us, yellow, orange is for Christian and blue is for liberal. So just
really? There you go. Yeah. Okay. So I think there is a historical blueness to the Conservative Party. I think blue is a conservative colour. If you think about it, you know, what suit colour are you told to wear to an interview? Blue. You know, so and red is definitely because of the connotation with the communists and the red flag and the socialists. And carrying the red flag, etc. So, but yeah, interesting question. I have no idea. I'm not a historian. But it's interesting that your Liberals are blue and your Christian Democrat. I presume they're the Conservative Party, the Christian Party, the Conservative side, like the CD, the Christian Democrats in Germany are the Conservatives, and they're blue too, by the way. Anyway, but they do use these colours. They actually do use these colours. So let's move on, and we'll go to before the election day. Quite often we have debates. I don't know if you have those in your country, so I'm going to ask you, do you have election debates in your country? So not party political broadcasts, but actual debates. During elections in the US and elsewhere now, because they've come to the UK now, they didn't exist when I was growing up. There was no debating. There'd be talks and chat shows and things like that. But this sort of two parties in the UK, we had several parties. Everybody wanted to get in on the act in the UK. It was hilarious. I think they got about 2 nanoseconds to speak each. But they stand behind their podiums and they go blah, 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 blah. Vote for me. And usually it's the candidates of the largest parties, and they engage in this debate for the main candidates. So it was David Cameron. I suppose now it would be Theresa May. And they were meant to debate the main topics, each person answering questions. But as I say, it got crazy in the UK. We had, I think, 5 people up on the stage. They're showing their belongings to some political parties, wearing ties in some specific colour. Absolutely. I would say she's part of the Green Party and he's part of the Conservative Party, just by the ties. But it's televised. These debates are televised. And in the US, they get huge audiences. They really do. Yeah, that's the thing. I think they're going to go down into political history, April. The Clinton-Trump debates were... Did you see the one where he followed her around the stage? It was creepy. It's like, if he'd done that to me, I'd have probably turned around and kicked him in the shin. Oh dear. So, April, did you actually watch any of the debates for the American election? Did you watch them? I know you like watching late night television.
Oh,
no, okay.
No. I've just seen the video clips where they make laugh about the one with Clinton and Trump, and they put the song. They put the song.
Yes.
Instead of the conversation, instead of the debate, they put the song. The laugh of my life.
Yes, as the great thing about these televised debates is it does give YouTubers a lot of ammunition for spoofing. By the way, they were making fun of. Yeah, they were making fun of Trump and Clinton, or spoofing, to spoof. Yeah. We often say to spoof something, to make fun of it, to do it in a not serious manner, and it actually is a verb, spoofing. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, anybody else get these debates? Do you have them in your country, April? At all?
Yes, on TV, but not because maybe the main party or parties that could be elected here are more than two, not like in America. So they make it with a couple of parties at once, not one on one, but just for more than two parties. Again, yeah, just not one on one, and anyway.
Are they polite, or do they get quite heated? Because there's a
Yeah,
word you can use, a
very
heated
polite.
debate. Oh, right, okay. There's a word you can use, a heated debate. I love it when it's a heated debate, when people start shouting at each other. But they're polite. They're well moderated, are they?
And it's not so long like in America. How many hours did the debate there on TV?
Well,
You know?
there's more than one debate, isn't there? There's several, and it has been proven that it can change. I don't think it changes people's minds when they belong to the party, but I think if you're one of those people sitting on the fence, if you sit on the fence, you don't know where to jump. You don't know whether you're for or against something, or whether you want to vote for one person or the other person. You sit on the fence. So they call them the undecideds. I think it can make a difference with the undecideds. And they poll people as well, to poll. And you have pollsters who got it completely wrong in the last couple of elections in the UK, so they're useless. But they do poll people and ask them, who are you going to vote for? And they try and say everybody's going to vote for this thing or that thing. They got it wrong on Brexit. They got it wrong in the general election. So don't take any notice of polls. They got it terribly wrong with Clinton, Trump. Absolutely messed it up completely. Okay, and on election day, okay, and people queue up at different polling places. Now, the polling places in the UK can be anything from council houses to schools, any building, any public building, libraries, and there's more than one in an area because there's a lot of people who want to vote, so there'll be several in areas. Usually on your poll card, it will tell you where to go. It'll give you the address, and you have to get there in time. You will be queuing up. Okay, if you're very lucky, you might get a short queue, but especially during the referendum for Brexit, there were very long queues. You have to be ever so patient. But you can take time off work legally. You can say, I'm going to vote, and walk out of your job without, they can't give you any grief for that. You can't get into trouble because it's your democratic right to vote in the UK. And they go to these polling places, these polling stations as they're called, and they get the chance to choose the leaders. Now, that might be who's going to govern their city, the town, the state, or the council, or the whole country. So generally speaking, there will be some kind of election every year in the UK. There'll be local elections. Nowadays, in many areas, there are mayoral elections. And then every 4 years, of course, we get the old general election. Okay?
What, please? Meryl? What did you?
Mayoral elections, yes. A mayoral election. It's basically to vote for the mayor. More and more areas and cities are asking to have a mayor. Okay? Well done, Marco. Yes. Yeah, to sit on the fence, you haven't decided yet. Not you didn't decide yet. That word yet indicates that you use the present perfect. I haven't decided yet. am I going to have coffee after the session or tea? I haven't decided yet. I'm sitting on the fence between coffee and tea. Do you believe that? You shouldn't, because you know I'm going to have a coffee. Okay. Oh, that message is really annoying. I don't know what's going on with my scanner or my printer, but I don't want to scan. I don't want to print. It keeps sending me a message every 5 minutes saying, you can't. I'm not going to let you. Okay. Is that okay, April? Mayor? Mayor?
Yeah. But our
It sounds
mayor,
like mayor, as in a female horse, but it is actually the mayor
yeah,
of London,
I
Boris
didn't
Johnson.
know how to spell it, but actually, a mayor will not be elected here, because it is just the one that the party that win the election in that place, they will give the mayor.
That's what it used to be like here. But for example, the mayor of London, the election is, I don't know when the next one will be, but London gets to vote for its mayor. Okay. And again, you've got these party divides. So the Conservatives will put forward a mayor, the Labour will put forward a mayor, the Greens will put forward a mayor, and then people will vote in the mayoral elections. Okay. And in some areas, it's true that it's just a role that it's like there's no political power behind it, but that's what's changing at the moment in the UK. People are saying we want to have these, we want to have mayors who represent us and whom we can vote for. Okay. So hang on, here you go. That was the London elects. Okay, and you could go in as a voter or as a candidate. But it's unusual in London, but that's how the bigger cities, Manchester, Birmingham, they're all saying, we want this as well. We want this mayoral election. Okay. Of course, does anybody know who? Yes, sorry, Marco. Mayoral election. It's an odd word, I know, but a mayoral election. And does anybody know the most famous London mayor of London ever?
Not Boris Johnson, I hope.
No, Dick Whittington. He was a fictional mayor of London. Yeah, Puss in Boots. Oh, dear. Puss in Boots. He's fictional, totally fictional. I don't know if he ever actually existed, but Dick Whittington from Puss in Boots, probably the most famous mayor of London. The most notorious mayor of London has to be Boris Johnson, it has to be said.
But why is Dick Whittington famous, Lynn?
Oh, because he's part of a children's story. Puss in Boots.
Okay.
You know Puss in
I
Boots?
don't know that. No, I don't know that.
Oh, no. Puss in Boots. He was even in Shrek. Puss in Boots. The cat. He's Puss in Boots. Ah. The cat in Shrek, yeah? He's Puss in Boots. Let's not go there. That's going to end the session very, very strangely. But yes, if you look up Dick Whittington or Puss in Boots, you'll find the whole story of turn around, Dick Whittington, and you shall be Lord Mayor of London. He ran away to go to London to find the streets made of gold, and he got there and he found that they're not made of gold. But he ended up it's got a happy ending, okay? Okay, so we'll stop there. I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you for taking part in the vocabulary challenge. It's nice to be able to talk about it on a Monday. And don't forget, you can join the call by raising your hand, clicking on if you can talk, but don't raise your hand if you can't talk. If you're at work, then, just ask your questions and listen in text. You can text any questions and just listen. But if you want to speak, do raise your hand, because I'm quite happy to have you come and talk to me. What was the correct answer for this week's Riddle Me Ree? Ah, good question, Marco. Okay, now I've got a little bit of a, a situation,
Yeah,
but
I
Marco,
know.
yeah.
I was thinking that yes, last night also. That there should be more one possibility for the same letters, because if we
I will accept
play
both.
change
Yes,
a letter, we can swap.
absolutely. Yeah, finger and fringe are both correct. Okay. So if you answered finger, if you answered fringe, you will go into the draw. Unfortunately, if you answered anything else, you won't, which is probably bad news for somebody here, but never mind. If your answer was finger or fringe, you will be entering the draw. Okay? Yeah, I know, Shiny. I'm so sorry. But I'll be putting it now. I have got a bit of an issue at the moment, because the last Riddle Me Ree was the longer one, and the software I used to create the little game doesn't take that many letters. It kind of gets to number 11 and it spits it out. So what I'm going to have to do when I've got time, I'm going to have to split it into two games that you play together. So I'm not sure how I'll do it. So what I might do is skip that one for now whilst I think about the best way to do it so that people can play it, and I will create the one for this week so you can have a listen and you can see what was wrong with the answer. Okay, because I realised that it must have been a slightly tough one because some of the letters I got weren't, well, I didn't think they were in the letters that I spoke out. And as people did get the right answers, I think the clues were correct. But I have made mistakes before, But I think I was right in saying it's finger. But well done for getting fringe, because I saw it and I thought, oh no, that's not what I was thinking.
I was on Saturday. I was thinking, oh no, I got it. It must be ginger, but I haven't got the last
Aha.
one. And Sunday, I missed the one in the morning, and I missed the one in the afternoon. So I think, oh,
Oh
that's
no.
what I do. Then I sent ginger as answer, but luckily I listened to the RMR, RMR,
RMR.
RMR,
RMR.
RMR at 11. Otherwise, I will put
Wow, that was late. Okay, just to the last minute. Yes, you will find that it's worth listening to the end, because what I try to do is make sure that the last letter is the one that gives you the correct answer. But obviously, because if it had been FINGER all the way through, the letter for each day, then of course I wouldn't have accepted fringe. But as it was an anagram, then I am quite happy to accept fringe. And well done, you're very clever. Okay, so don't worry if you didn't get the right one. There'll be another one starting tomorrow. Okay, another 6-letter one. And I think it's just a case of practice, practice, practice makes perfect. Okay. What? Oh no, there's another one tomorrow, Marco. Oh no. I'm not sure which is easier, the guess the theme or the riddle me ree. But anyway, I hope you enjoy them, whichever. Okay, and I'll announce the winner tomorrow as well, of course. Okay, and well done everybody for booking your free session. That's great. That if you do it as quickly as possible, it's a lot easier to keep track. So well done. Okay, I will leave you. I'm going to go and make my coffee. We will be in Kitely in half an hour, 20 minutes, to carry on reading The Call of the Wild. Okay, so I'll hopefully see some of you there. Take care. Bye.
Bye, Lynn. Bye, guys. Bye, Shani. Bye, Maria Marco.
Here, but this one needs to be capital as well. And don't forget to finish your sentences with a full stop. Okay. Alina asked if anyone wanted to chat. As usual, came in, said, does someone want to chat? And we said hello and never came back. Yaker said, "Hey, what's up? Let's chat." Ha 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 ha. I'm not sure why that was funny, but okay, whatever. And Aravind said, "Hi, I'm new here." And it's so nice to have Zom back because Aravind got a reply pretty quickly. Arsan said, "Is there anybody to help me to play active role here as I want to improve my speaking?" Yes. Again, came, asked a question, didn't reply. That's normal in live chat, by the way. Robo said hi, capital H. And Ilham or Iam Mamadova said, "Hello, I'm new here. I want to increase my speaking. Can anybody help me?" So I presume that's hello, capital H. I want to increase my speaking. I would just say improve my speaking. Moen said hi. And Amelia is asking for partners to practice speaking. Again, if you're going to do that, make sure you reply, okay? And Movies HD said hello. Movies HD sounds a little bit like a spammer, doesn't he? So, if you've said hello on live chat, welcome. If not, yeah, get over there, say hello to other people. Let's get it going again, especially now Zom's back. But today we're going to look at election vocabulary, and you'd have to be, I don't know, you'd have to be comatose through the whole of 2016 not to have picked up some election vocabulary. Surely you must have picked up some election vocabulary. So when we're talking about elections, we talk about election campaigns, and there's a verb there, to campaign, okay? And the verb from election is to elect. So you can elect somebody, yeah? And you can be elected. So if you elect somebody, you choose who's going to be your leader. And if you are elected, you're it. You are the leader. Okay? Follow my leader. So the text we had in the actual vocabulary challenge, and if you want to take part, if you're new here or if you're watching this video and you're going, what vocabulary challenge, get into the English forum, okay, sign in or register, okay, and I will show you exactly what I mean by starting to screen share. Okay, so I'll disappear for a second as I screen share. Passive. Excellent, Rima. Yeah, well done, Marco. To elect somebody, not to be elected, passive. But of course, Mr. Trump was elected. Oh, maybe I shouldn't mention that. Okay, so the vocabulary challenge you'll find under groups in the forum. You'll need a forum account. Ooh, getting a funny message. Okay, whatever. My scan for computer's no longer working. I don't know why it has to tell me that. Join us for webinars. And you will find in there something called Vocabulary Challenge each week. You'll find some previous ones. So there's one from last week, which I'll close down now. And it's a little bit more complicated than that. You have to follow the instructions. Okay, you go to the Moodle page that we run. You click on English Vocabulary Challenge and enter the password, which changes each week. Then you take the challenge and you post your answers here. Okay, and if you find that on Tuesday by 11 o'clock in the morning there's nothing in here, send me a message like April did to say, "Oi Lynn, where's the vocabulary challenge?" It is a weekly thing. Even if I'm on holiday, it will run. Okay, and then you'll be taken to a picture or some text, and you have to tell me what the vocabulary is, or what the sentences should be, or what the words should be in the challenge. Okay, and each person then replies, and at the end of the week, after the challenge is closed, it runs from Tuesday to Thursday, and then I give you the answers. Okay, so we'll start with number one, which is, I know you think date, but it's not, it's candidate. Okay. So although we say date, It's pronounced candidate, okay? And the candidate is the person standing for election. Okay, now around election time, and 2016 in America was crazy in this respect. There are lots of reporters, the media. Okay, so reporters shoving their microphones in people's faces. The media were all over the election in the US. We had our own little elections in the UK as well, slightly different. Not an election, a referendum. You might have heard of Brexit. Not a good year for me, to be honest. And you have the media, reporters and cameramen, okay? Or, because let's face it, women operate cameras too, camera operators, okay? Then we have the usual people around election time who don't like a candidate or who don't like a political party. And we actually do say political party, but it's not as exciting as it sounds. It's just the Democrats, the Republicans, in the UK, the Conservatives, the Liberal Democrats, Labour, they're all political parties. And there's not much partying going on, to be honest. So it's a bit of a misuse of the word party, let's face it. But we'll get protesters or demonstrators, and there'll be a demonstration or a protest, okay? And the protesters would carry protest signs saying no to global warming or no to whoever is trying to be elected. Okay, when you have decided who you want to vote for, we have election day and everybody goes to the polling station. Okay, now I say poll, some people say polling. I don't think it matters. Polling station, polling station. And the place, okay, generally, if it's a general election in the UK, then you're voting for the political party to lead you. But it might be a local election, in which case you're voting for the constituency. Okay, so if you're voting for a particular constituency, in the US it would be like a state, in the UK it would be a council district area, that kind of thing. And in America they call it a voting district. That's North American English. If you see that NAME, it just stands for North American English. Okay, you get your ballot paper or your poll card or your voter card in America, and you mark it for whoever you want to vote for. Could be a party or it could be a particular council candidate. Sometimes we have mayoral elections to vote for a mayor. The most famous are the London mayor elections. So you might vote for a mayor or a council or a political party. Okay, at the polling station you have election officials. They stand there and they make sure you have your voting papers, your ballot paper. And to get Good morning, I hope you can hear me. So type 111 when you can. Ooh, when you can hear me. And don't forget to mark questions as questions. You can do that by clicking on the down arrow next to the chat box that you write in, that you type in, and just mark it as a question. Okay, excellent. So, hello, nice to see you on a Monday. Well done. And hello, Rima. Hello, Reem. Nice to see you. And Benabid. Strangely, April, you're not showing up, which is odd. And neither is Shiny. I'm not sure why. You're just invisible to me. And I don't know why that would be, but I can see you and you can hear me. So that's good. Okay, we're going to look at only the last words. Oh, I hope that's not a shape of things to come. But at the moment, I will presume you can hear me. So let's begin by briefly taking a look at the chat section. Okay, so we'll just quickly have a look at live chat, just because I like to see if anything's happened over the weekend. This is my chance. And one bit of news is Dom's back. And Reem, I'm wondering if it's the same Reem who's in the room. But Reem said, hello, I'm Reem. I want to improve my speaking skills. That's good. Great. Just also improve the capitalization. Hello, capital H, I, capital I always. You put one capital I in.